Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Square One podcast. We're taking our guests back to square one where they first started their careers or their businesses, and we're going to learn from their failures. Square One's brought to you by Omni Home Services, which represents Chattanooga Home Inspector, Elevate Home Staging Design, Nuclear Pest Control, Radon Eraser, and hopefully some more business entities in the future. I'm your host, Malcolm Godwin. Thank you for listening.
We have Kevin Angelilli, just Kevin, ex-cop, street cop survivor, master guru, scuba diver extraordinaire with us today. Tell us about Street Cop Survivor.
Okay. The real long story of it is back in the early 90s, I was in law enforcement and ended up getting hit by a car while on duty. And many years later, after dealing with it emotionally and as physically as a wreck as well, that I found Street Cop Survivor Club. And basically it's a support group on Facebook and in person where they try to help each other out with the emotional baggage that you have after this. And, you know, I got hit by a car in 93, and back then there was no awards, there was no cool things. And basically get back to work as soon as you possibly can. And that's kind of the way it was. Now, you know, if anything happens and you do something good, heroic, they recognize you for it. They give you an award, pat on the back. And I've been trying to get my awards for it ever since. Basically, after I got hit by a car, I had knee surgery, had physical therapy, was off work for about 6 months. So not a lot of fun. And afterwards, the department really didn't treat me as good as I hoped. Like I'd wanted. And one of the things I did as rehab was got into scuba. And it was actually a kind of a funny story. I got back to work and sitting there one evening, I come in and to go on night shift, and the afternoon guy says, "Hey, can you swim?" I'm like, "Of course I can swim. Why?" "You're the dive team." What are you talking about, dive team? So we had some guns stolen, thrown in a river. Okay, cool. Go find them. So I went down, basically started swimming. And they said, "Well, you know, the guns are a little further out," and it got too deep. Went to the local dive shop and said, "Hey, here's what I'm a policeman. Here's what I need. I need some dive gear so I can go find this stuff." And, you know, the guy put it together for me and said, "Don't drown." And that was my first scuba class. So, yeah, trust me, this is the 90s. You could do a lot more stuff. So I, you know, got started, went out, found the guns. And, you know, of course, the best part is we come back and I've got a beach towel over my shoulders and watching a guy, you know, my partner's in there. "You stole the stuff. We know it. We got the evidence." And the kid's like, "No, you got nothing on me, man. I'm cool." And I walk in with the guns and beach towel and swim trunks, throw them on the table, and he starts crying. So at that moment, I realized there's a lot more to diving. In public safety diving, which at the time was police diver. So I had to go out and learn, and I started taking classes. As soon as I took my first class, I realized, I looked at my instructor and I thought, this guy's pretty good, but I could do better. So about a year later, I was doing my instructor course, and I'm looking at the course director, which is where I am now. And I said, if he can be a course director, I can too. So sure enough, it took me 3 years, but there's a lot of steps in the way that a lot of people don't know about. And 1999, I got my PADI course director, and that means instructor trainer. I teach over 30 specialties, and I've continued to develop public safety diving along the way.
Kevin, you're one big walking, talking story, that's for sure. For the people that don't know, tell us what PADI stands for. Okay,
yeah, you're right. You know, sometimes we all forget those little things in life, like what's the acronym? And it's PADI is Professional Association of Diving Instructors. It is the largest certification agency on the planet. They teach more divers every year than every other agency combined, which is really cool. So you got a lot of power, a lot of clout behind your name when you're a PADI diver as well as a PADI instructor or beyond instructor.
You know, I'll never forget, I went through a PADI course in Kuwait City several years ago, and we go down to a pool and you shut your oxygen off, right? And I remember, like, you watch your oxygen just deplete, and then to zero, and to not literally, physically being able to breathe it's a terrible, like, I thought we were going to breathe like low oxygen, but the fact that you just can't inhale is terrifying.
It is. But how did that skill end?
I don't remember. After that, I just, it was done. Well, I guess, what was it? You recover from your partner or whatever, right?
Yes. You get your alternate air source from your buddy and you breathe off of their air. So yeah, it's not that bad. It's traumatizing at times, but it shouldn't be that bad. It's to teach you. And when we turn off your air, you're shown, hey, we're going to turn it off.
And then you do
you do the out of air sign, the cutthroat sign, pirate sign. Arg.
And then they got their extra respirator right here.
So you grab the alternate air source and you breathe from it. But when you're watching your gauge drop, it gets slightly harder to breathe. And that is two of the things that you need to do is, number one, watch your air and be conscious that if you're breathing and it gets kind of hard, like you're sucking through a straw, there's something wrong. So normal breathing on a scuba rig should be just as fine as it is right now here at the surface. And that's the fun part.
That's cool. So let's get into it, Kevin. It says, ask about C&J Scuba. Specifically, other owner bailed off and ran off with his girlfriend. We are trying to talk with local entrepreneurs or CEOs or any movers and shakers. Tell us about what you've learned from C&J Scuba.
Yeah, I after I got hit by the car, I ended up getting out of law enforcement for a while, and I started doing restaurant management, which I found out real quick. I hate that. That's not fun. Don't do this. This is not good. So, of course, as a diver, the first thing you do is when you're in a new town is find the local dive shop because that's your home. This is where you want to be, people you want to dive with and hang with. And I found this place in Dayton, Ohio called C&J Scuba. And the owner seemed to be a real nice guy. And we had probably a good 2-year run of me being the instructor and teaching just tons and tons of students. I learned about the business. I learned about how everything worked. And then I learned he had a girlfriend and a cocaine habit and the money was gone and I had no idea. So the entrepreneurial side of that was make sure you know who you're getting into business with. And it can be a very good thing for you. It can be awesome. You can learn lots of lessons, but if you don't know your partner well enough, they can run off with all the money. And the way I found out that he had run off with all the money was when this real nice lady walks in a pantsuit from the 90s and asks for the owner by name. And I said, no, he's not here. What can I do for you? And she pulls out a badge and says, I'm actually from the IRS. I went, well, this is not good. How much trouble are we in? And I talked to her and said, I'm part owner. And she says, oh, well, you guys owe us a couple $100,000 and we're here to collect. And that's also when I found out that the paperwork that we did for me to be co-owner was never legal. And I didn't own any of it. And at that point, I was very happy because I didn't have this debt for the IRS hanging over me. And I was able to just walk away. And that was a crazy lesson to learn that, you definitely can't trust your partner. And especially if you're in a business or part of a business or looking at owning it, you've got to get into those books and not just this month's books. You got to go back 3 years. If you're going to be in a business, look at it like you're going to own it, buy it, work it. And it's much different than working in a corporate chain, 500 stores. Yeah, okay, one goes under, no big deal. You don't make a month, it's all right. The rest of the corporation's got you covered. But if you're a single store, and one of the two of you is stealing and the other one doesn't know, that's a problem. So every month you got to look at the books, not just what's coming off the cash register, but where's it going?
So you talk about getting to getting to know your business partner better. How would you have gone back and done that differently? Just look at the books?
Yeah. Making sure that even though after they gave me the paperwork and we all signed off and everybody's all happy that I'm a partner, co-owner, whatever, really making sure that I actually got the finalized copies, which I didn't know I needed. At the time I was in my 20s and was just happy to be there, and I was teaching and making good money, probably $10 an hour back in the 90s.
So you're, one of the questions we ask is, how can someone get a positive ROI from your line of work, and you say learn as much about the business as you possibly can. I love that. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, but when you start looking at scuba, people think, well, I'll just become an instructor and that's all I need. No, absolutely not. A lot of what we found out, and through the facts and through dive shops over 30, 40, 60 years, is, I love diving. I'm just going to open my own store. What do you know about business? Nothing. How are you going to do it? Well, I'll just buy stuff and sell it. Cool. What's your markup? What's your marketing plan? What is your business plan? And a lot of times people don't have that. And you're right. It seems obvious. Well, I'll just become an instructor and I can teach all the classes myself and make all the money. Cool. How much do you charge? Whatever my competitor charges.
Why?
Yeah. Why? Why are you doing this to yourself? Because you actually have to sit down. And probably in the early 2000s, I had a buddy of mine named Pete Traylor. And when I worked at PADI headquarters, he was the outside regional manager. And I was the inside sales guy. And we did an actual Excel spreadsheet, which said, how much do you want to make? And we broke down every piece of equipment you had to have: mask, snorkels, fins, boots, BCs, tanks, and compressors. I just bought a compressor 2 years ago. It was $7,000. Oh, my gosh. And it's a small one. All of that, you have to price out and figure out how much that's going to cost you, divide it by how many years it's worth that you can use it, and then how many students you plan on teaching. That is going to tell you what the price of your classes are. Now, if I go out and say, hey, my crosstown rival is charging $100, can I do that? No, absolutely not, unless you're doing as many students as they are. Now, if you're a startup, your return on investment is going to be 2 to 3 to 4 years in any business, unless you're selling crack.
Come on.
So you've got a longer return on investment. Then we can start about getting ahead. So when we're talking about education, it's not just becoming an instructor, it's learning the business of diving. When I started and got my instructor and was getting ready to go to course director school, they have a bunch of videos that you can watch, follow, understand. And what you do is you watch all these videos, and it's people from 20 years before explaining, here's all of my mistakes, here's what I did wrong. And that's how you learn. And that's why it's like getting a mentor, somebody else to teach you what the pitfalls are and the things you're not seeing. And, getting a $15,000 loan for equipment just for a startup and not even having a storefront, it's kind of hard to pay that back until you really start working it.
I'm over here just working out the math because what you say, I mean, that's true with any business, really. If it takes equipment to establish yourself, how long is the equipment good for? How many times you're going to use it? I guess we need to get an accountant on here to get us a return on investment on equipment. There's got to be some type of formula, right?
Yeah, there is.
We'll use a different one. Okay, here in Chattanooga, what do we got? A lot of food trucks.
Okay.
I really enjoy it. As a kid, you want the ice cream truck to come by. As an adult, you want to hear the taco truck and margarita truck.
Come on.
That's what we're waiting for. I see it every day on Facebook. So let's look at a food truck.
Wait. What the hell is a margarita truck?
I know. Can
Yeah,
I get
see,
that?
Is this for real?
Can I get that Facebook page?
No. This is what everybody's saying. As adults, that's what we want to come down the street is a taco truck followed by a margarita truck. So if we look at a food truck, how much is a food truck going to cost?
The hell with a food truck? How much does a margarita truck cost?
Okay. Well, here we'll promote some other businesses. We do have businesses that have the model of they will show up as a liquor truck, margarita truck, beer truck, yes, for a fee, and then they will pour drinks for you. Based on that, they have like an old truck, old car, old van, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all decked out, that looks really cool, so people are attracted to it, which goes back to your sales and marketing. They basically have kegs of beer or bottles of liquor, and it goes back to the same thing. How many drinks do you have to pour? How much does each one have to be to cover the equipment? Okay, well, that's pretty easy. No. Insurance, gas, labor. Then you also have your marketing and advertising costs. How much does it cost to get next to you guys to get on the show so people can hear it? All of those costs have to be added up. And it's exactly what you said. If we do a food truck, beer truck, whatever, it should be good for 10 years. So you take the cost of it, divide it by 10. Okay, cool. So this year, if food truck's going to be close to $100,000, because if you got the grill, the exhaust, and the actual stuff done right with the coolers, a generator, oh my goodness, it just racked right up. But you do all of that, divide it by 10 years, so that's 10 grand a year. So if we say, how many months of the year are we going to work? Let's do easy math, 10. So I got to do $1,000 a month for 10 months for 10 years. Okay, how much does the ingredients of whatever I'm going to do? Tequila and mix, right?
Sure.
And ice. You divide that out. That's how much you're going to have to make. Then you have to divide it down per drink, per day. If we're doing an event, and let's say it's a Saturday, okay, we've got Wine Over the River, which is coming up, right? All the local places. Shout out.
I thought that was already done.
Is that?
No.
No, it's coming up.
No. Tomorrow they're doing the half-price tickets.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
so
Okay.
Yeah.
Wine over water. Once you hear this podcast, it's going to be over then.
Shout out, you missed it. Okay, cool. So basically, even with those kind of events, this is what you're going to look at. Okay, if we're going to plan to do this, how many drinks do we have to pour? How much do we have to make per event, per weekend, per month? In this way, if you're only doing it on the weekends and we say we need $1,000 a month, well, now you divide it by 4. So now you got to make $250 per weekend just to pay your truck. Okay, 4 months in, we've only made half of what we need. So for the rest of the year, we have to increase our number as to how much we have to make to break even. And that's the big kicker. If you're a small business person and you don't get that, you need to get with somebody who does, take a class at a local college, do the business 101s, and understand that sales and marketing side of things of you buy a widget for $1, you have to sell it for $2, because that $1 of profit is what you're going to have to use to pay all the other expenses, which is your margarita mix, your tequila, and your ice, and your gas. Oh, by the way, you got to have vehicle insurance. You got to have business insurance. All these things add up. As an instructor, my insurance is $2,000 a year just to teach. So I have to divide that by all the students. Well, if I teach 2,000 students, cool, it's $1. If I teach 20 students, if I teach 2 students, well, I'm not going to charge $1,000 for that class because nobody will take it. So you still have to make all those adjustments. And that's where the long-term business profiles come into play. And there's a lot to it. And I really didn't get that at first. And I wish someone would have helped me with that, because you just can't arbitrarily say, I'm going to make $20, because it just doesn't work.
Tell us a little bit about public safety diving all the way to the bottom.
It's the best book ever written.
Why is that?
Why? I know the author. It was me. So years ago, when public safety diving took on the name, it went from police diver to anybody could do it. And it's basically still down to police, fire, EMS. And I was teaching basically recoveries of everything. And I mean that as an evidence. Evidence would be guns, cars, trucks, whatever you want to call it, up to and including bodies. And one of the things is, there wasn't a book. I didn't like one. I found a couple of them. They really weren't that good. I didn't like it. And I like what I was teaching because I'd done it at that point for close to 20 years. And I had a Excel file with all my stuff on it. I had a big presentation that I would do. And that was the basis of the book. And I started going through it, expanding, telling in a few of the stories that I wanted. I want some more stories. And I'm actually in the process of writing book 2 for the last 5 years because I haven't had time. But I created my own book so I could teach with it. And it became my version of my specialty of diving. And this way, wherever I went and wherever I taught, they used that book. When I was teaching in the Florida Keys, I taught for what was then Florida Keys Community College. It's now College of the Keys. And I taught the public safety diving program there. My book was the book. I've had several other people, including underwater archaeologists, use my book for public safety as a reference. And everybody's kind of like, wow, that's really cool. Why? What's the difference in public safety in an investigation versus archaeology? There's only one difference.
That is?
Time. After 7 years, murder's overdone. Nobody really cares. Yeah, the statute of limitations never ends. But after 100 years, there's not going to be a criminal left to try, convict. So it becomes archaeology. You do the exact same things, the exact same steps for finding a piece of evidence. If I find a murder weapon and say it's right here on this table, cool. We can take pictures, we can take photos, we can measure from the corners of the walls and say it is right there. When we go to court, they'll say, where was it? It was on this table, in this picture, right here, measure it out. That's how evidence is done. Let's add 30 feet of water. Do it again. Now it's a little more difficult. Well, we know it's here. I can take my computer, my dive gauge, hold it next to it, take a picture of it together, and say it's at this many feet. Then I still have to measure it. I also have to take a marker buoy and send it to the surface right above this point. Then on the surface, you're going to have to take either a phone where you can take a picture with the coordinates on it. Or in the old days, we had a GPS system that you put down there, take a picture of it. That's called evidence. Archaeology, exact same thing, except we're not going to take it to court and convict somebody. It's just, this is what we found. Now we have to figure out in archaeology what ship this was. And there's a lot of things that you go into with that, of measuring the size of the ribs and spars of the boat, how many ribs there are to the boat, how long it is, and that'll tell you where it was made. Look at the nails. Are they round or are they square? And that'll tell you how old it is.
How many boats are you finding, dude?
Well, over the years, a bunch.
Cool.
And it's not like, I lived and worked out of Key Largo. Shout out to my buddy Spencer Slate with Captain Slate Scuba. Off the Florida Keys, there are tons of wrecks, and a lot of them are not known. And I was living, working, teaching down there, and we would have people come out, and I would help them with their archaeology. And what we would do is go out and measure off an area, excavate, remove the sand, look at all these things. Some of these boats are from the 1600s.
Whoa.
1500s. We all know about the treasure ships. Everybody knows, hey, I want to find treasure. You can. It may not be the treasure ship. There's some other issues that go with that treasure law. If you want to do that, you need to learn the laws before you go treasure hunting. Yeah, it's one thing to find a ring on the beach. Woohoo, it's mine. And I'll give a shout out to my buddy Sean and Brad. Past Monday, they went out and found a ring in the Tennessee River. Lady lost a ring. It was at a boat dock. Luckily, she knew exactly where it fell, and it was within 10 feet of that location.
So they gave it back.
Oh, of course. It's on TriStar Scuba. Take a look. We got it. We got pictures. Facebook, we got pictures.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about TriStar Scuba.
TriStar Scuba is my little shop here in town. Right now, it's a garage shop, and that means I can keep my costs down and basically teach from home. So what I do is pretty much a concierge service. If you have a home pool and you want to learn to scuba, I can come to your house and teach you scuba in your pool. And it's easy. I bring all the gear, all the tanks, all the equipment you need. We jump into your pool, get the class done.
And you can PADI certify us in our own pool at the house?
You do the training
there. You have to do open water, right?
For open water, for the first class, for the beginner course. Basically, there's an online e-learning. Then you do a pool section. So in the pool, you do everything that you got to see on the video. Basically, the first thing we do in diving, we give you a mask so you can see. Cool. Now let's fill it with water. What? Yeah, we teach you how to get the water out. You were talking earlier about the regulators that we breathe from. Okay, here, now you can breathe. Okay, cool. Take it out. What? This is what we do. And it teaches you how to be a good diver. That's what the e-learning is. It explains what everything is. It shows you how to do it. We go to the pool, we play monkey see, monkey do. I'm the monkey. I show you all the skills. Then you get to do it. It's real simple. Then we go and do 4 dives on 2 different days. We can do it on a Saturday, Sunday, knock out the dives. It's real easy. And in the open water, we do the exact same thing that you did in the pool, that you saw on the video, that you learned about. It's very easy. By the time you're done, you're a real confident diver. You know what you need to do, and you're good to dive.
And where are you going for the open water stuff? Because you can't see shit in the Tennessee River.
Well, yeah.
And Jen said yesterday, I don't want to be in that river. It's nasty.
Well,
she right.
Yeah, it's true. You know, and I will give the Tennessee River this. We do have about 6 foot of visibility on a good day, which not a lot, but you can see, no, I am not taking you there to get certified as an open water diver. We do have several quarries locally.
Gotcha.
And the closest one is Philadelphia, Tennessee, and it's called Philadelphia Quarry. Shout out to my friends up there. They do a great job. The quarry set up, it's got platforms. It's got ascent and descent lines, so you can go up and down. They've got cool things to look at. They've got sunken boats, cars. They've got big plastic tubes about 6 foot around that you can swim through to make sure that you're having fun. And there's all kinds of stuff to do locally. Now, like I said, I also do the concierge thing. If you want to go somewhere else, you have 2 choices. You can do what's called a referral, where I sign off that you did your classwork, sign off that you did your pool work, and you can go to see another instructor anywhere in the PADI world. The other option is, if you really like the way I do things, yes, as a concierge, I will go with you. You got to pay my way, get me there. I've done it multiple times where I will go with a couple or a family, get the family certified in the first 2 or 3 days that we're on a dive vacation. I peace out, head home, and they stay and enjoy the rest of their vacation wherever they want to be.
Well, that's pretty cool.
My daughter was interested in getting scuba certified. What is the age?
Many, many years ago, you had to be 16. Then it went to 14. Then it went to 12. It's now down to 10 years old to be certified. Now, the 10-year-olds, 10 to 12, has to have instructor approval. So if it's a 10-year-old and the kid is a total brat and all they do is run around, no, we're not going to do it because they have to be able to sit down, listen, and follow the rules. We also have some pool-only experiences for kids down to 8 years old, as long as we can get them to fit into gear. And then we do have smaller tanks. We do have smaller BCs. It's the jacket that you wear, that kind of thing. But to get certified, 10 is the minimum, yeah. So how old is she?
She hit 10, and we didn't do it. So she's 13 now.
13, come on.
We'll probably do it.
She's 3 years late. Jeez, come on. No, it's okay. It's cool.
Really failing here, Jen.
She was scared of the nasty river.
That's fair.
Okay, yeah, and it is fair. And one of the things that we have to do is look at, just because I'm here doesn't mean I have to dive here. Just because I do public safety diving and I have been in nasty, nasty, nasty water. And one of the things we actually teach is hazardous materials. Because once you get into a water and you're going to recover a car, we have to think of what else is on a car. Gas, oil, antifreeze, all the fluids. When they hit water, it starts...
body.
Yeah, I don't want to... Yeah. We'll touch on that. Hang on. Hold on to that. Let's finish the car thing.
Hold on. Do we have to get the body out first before we bring up the car?
Okay. Okay.
We're going into it now.
Okay.
Yeah. We're in. Diver down. Okay. So when it comes to body recoveries and out of water, one of the things you have to do is look at a worldwide focus. A lot of people will say, oh, you're in whatever, my location, my city, my county, my state. Nobody cares. Because every different jurisdiction will have different rules. Now, you got to understand, I have taught all around the world. I've taught people from almost every country, and they have different rules. When I started as a police diver, to do a body recovery, you had to be a certified police officer in that state, in that jurisdiction. If you weren't, you couldn't do it. So different jurisdictions started calling me. Hey, you're that dive guy that finds stuff. Yeah, that's me. Why? Where are you? Well, I'm here. Okay. What's your role? Well, you have to be an officer for us. Okay. How do we bypass this? You're an officer, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. I'd show up and they go, okay, raise your right hand. Do the Barney Fife. Say, I'm a deputy. You're a deputy. Go get him.
Wow.
Yes. This is how it used to be done. So I'm also part of, shout out to Hamilton County STARS, Special Tactics and Rescue Services. They're the guys that go out, guys and gals, that go out and do the missing persons, wilderness searches. They do the swift water. We also do the dive recoveries. Now, I'm going to say something here that's going to be very, very sad. So far this year, 2024, we've had 13 drownings in Hamilton County.
Kind of high.
That STARS has responded to. There has been others that the person has been pulled out, got out, or whatever prior to us being called. That is drownings. Of those 13, the vast majority could not swim, but they were in the water. We had people jumping in the flood-swollen rivers, fast-moving waters, and drown, and could not swim well. Number one, please learn to swim. That's a big shout out for everybody. Now, we'll get back to where we're at. So back in the day, we had to be, a member in that agency or whatever. Now it's different. And there's different agencies. Sometimes we have a state police dive team that'll travel. And it's always a recovery. A rescue very, very rarely ever happens. Oh, I heard. Yeah, I know. I don't want to give false hope to a family who's waiting an hour, 2, 3, 4 for me to show up and then get there and then them get excited. Hey, you're going to bring them out alive, right?
Whoa.
Worst case, I had a 4-day drowning. Person been underwater for 4 days. I showed up. The family asked me, are you going to bring Billy out alive? It's in my book. It happened. The difference is...
How does that make sense?
Because their local dive team had been looking for them, and they have a thing on the side of their truck.
False hope or something?
And it's painted as dive rescue. Yeah. Let me reemphasize, dive rescue. And it's not. It's a recovery. Here for Hamilton County, for STARS, it takes us about an hour to get there. It just doesn't work. There's a long math thing that we can do, but anyways, we don't want to do that. So we'll get back to different jurisdictions and things. So you've got to be on a world thought process that for everyone in the world, we're going to say you can do evidence recovery, body recovery, and go and testify in court, which is the big thing a lot of people miss. One of the worst things that could ever happen is to go out and say, oh, there's been a drowning. All right, cool. We'll go down. We find them in zero visibility, pull them up, and they've got a bullet wound. Oops. It's not accidental now. Unless they accidentally shot themselves while falling off the mountain it doesn't happen that way. And that's the thing that we've got to look at. And no matter what your team is, no matter what your quote unquote role for the public safety diving is, you actually have to be able to do all of the evidence, because if something comes back wrong, if later on somebody sues, you're going to court. And there's nothing worse than being unprepared to walk into a courtroom. So that's why you've got to learn and know and understand all of this stuff.
I feel like we could go on and on and on about just the recovery aspect. However, we're going to get to our star question here. If you could close your eyes and take yourself back to square one, maybe it's the time that you got hit by the car. Maybe it's because that kind of was what led you in the journey of diving. If you can go back and talk to your younger self and take yourself back to square one, what would you tell yourself?
Ooh, see, I've been thinking about this since you guys gave me this question. And the long answer to that is, this is a surprise that I haven't told you. When I was 14 years old, I did a Discover Scuba in a pool. Went home, told mom and dad, hey, mom and dad, this is what I want to do. I always knew growing up, I wanted to teach, but I didn't want to be a school teacher because I knew how bratty we were and I knew kids were getting worse. So I didn't want to be a school teacher. I saw scuba and said, that's what I want to do. Went to my parents and said, mom and dad, I want to learn to dive. I want to be a scuba instructor. And they said no. There's a few other words said from a good Italian family, but the answer was no, we don't want a bunch of flippers laying around the house, and we're not going to do that. So I would love to go back to me after that conversation with mom and dad and say, don't quit. Go learn to dive.
So you found your passion at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I was probably 14, and I was probably 24 when I finally got to dive. So in that meantime, I went in the military, I went into law enforcement, I did all these other things and came back to it. The second thing I'd tell myself is, don't let anybody talk you out of this. because my passion and my love became law enforcement. After I got hit by a car, my family, that was so supportive of me, said, look what happened so far. If you continue, you're going to die. And that's what they told me every single day until I got out of it. Now, it's hard when you've got a wife, when you've got a family, when you've got all of your basically friends that you know outside of law enforcement telling you to get out. It makes your life a living hell. But if I could go back and tell me, stay in diving, get in diving, do whatever it has to take, go to the local dive shop, learn. So as soon as you turn 18, you can be that instructor. Go out and learn. The second thing I'd say is find a mentor, somebody who's actually in the business, knows the business, and is successful. Even if you don't work with them, just get to know them. How did you do it? By hearing their stories, like me telling my story, should help you to learn something. It should inspire you to go out and get that education. If you don't know about business, but you're passionate and you want that margarita truck, go take Business 101, take Marketing 101. Go talk to your local podcasters, see what it takes to say, hey, how did you actually get into podcasting? If that's what you want, find somebody who does what you want to do. Go back to the old question. Oh, your high school counselor said, what do you want to do in 5 years? I don't know. Not be in high school. That was the answer. You tell them whatever you could just to get them off your back. Ask yourself that question. And if you say, I want to be a scuba instructor and I want to own my own dive shop, start today. It's a PADI motto, start today. Your daughter wants to learn to dive, start today. Get online, TriStarScuba.com, open water diver, buy that course. Done. Get it, make it happen. Because, like you said, she's already 13. She's missed 3 years of diving. I don't know the number of divers.
Yeah, Jen.
Well, and here's a fun thing. Your daughter's going to need a buddy because you always dive with someone else. You have to have a buddy with you.
I get it.
No, and that's not.
So is PADI, you said the PADI slogan is start today?
Yeah, start today.
I love that. Start today. So if you went back to your old self, don't quit. Don't let anyone take away your dreams. Find a coach, find a mentor, and start today.
Absolutely.
Kevin, where can we find you?
Easiest place to find me is TriStarScuba.com. And on that, you'll see all the different things that I have. And don't be afraid to reach out.
We need a pool.
I agree.
You have a pool, Jen?
My neighborhood has a pool.
Okay. So we're all getting certified again. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Square One podcast, brought to you by Omni Home Services. We represent Chattanooga Home Inspector, Nuclear Pest Control, Elevate Home Staging Design, Radon Eraser, and hopefully more business entities in the future. We release a new episode every Thursday. If you like this episode, share it with your friends, neighbors, real estate agents, or whoever. Make sure you subscribe to Spotify, Apple, or wherever the hell you listen to your podcasts.